Barbados spared, but Tropical Storm Kirk continues on a track across the Lesser Antilles. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, September 27th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Caribbean islands in the Lesser Antilles are bracing for Tropical Storm Kirk as it makes its way through the region after an uneventful passage to the north of Barbados. Tropical storm warnings are still in effect for Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, Martinique, and Guadeloupe, while St. Vincent and the Grenadines is also still under a tropical storm watch. Although Barbados had been the first island forecast to be impacted by Kirk on Thursday, Acting Prime Minister and Attorney General Dale Marshall said there would be no national shutdown, even though schools were closed. The decision was made following a briefing with officials from the Met Service, and by evening when the storm passed, it was clear the island had been spared the expected rains and high winds. Even so, the Met Office Thursday evening cautioned citizens not to let their guard down. Forecasters say feeder bands trailing the system are expected to move across the island later in the day and into early Friday, bringing pockets of moderate to heavy showers, periods of rain, isolated thunderstorms, and occasional gusty winds. At 5 p.m., Tropical Storm Kirk was centered about 85 miles northwest of Barbados and was moving west-northwest at 14 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds remained near 50 miles per hour, and forecasters say the center of Kirk will move across the Lesser Antilles within the tropical storm warning area Thursday evening. Little change in strength is expected before Kirk moves through the Lesser Antilles, but gradual weakening is anticipated during the next couple of days, and Kirk is forecast to become a tropical depression Friday night and degenerate into a trough of low pressure by Sunday. But the other islands are still preparing. Over in Dominica, not only were all schools closed Thursday, but Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt ordered an island-wide shutdown. Schools were also closed in St. Lucia. Tropical Storm Kirk is expected to produce total rainfall of 4 to 6 inches across the northern Windward and southern Leeward Islands, with isolated maximum totals up to 10 inches across Martinique and Dominica. In other news, the Trinidad and Tobago government is yet to secure a supplier of fuel for the local market and to meet its regional trade agreements. The disclosure came from Energy Minister Franklin Khan in Parliament on Wednesday, as we hear in this CNC3 news report.
In 4 days, the dismantling of TNT's only refinery will start.
Upon its closure, there will be a 20-day supply of fuel from stock to start with.
It's a huge task for Energy Minister Franklin Khan, who admits to date no supplier has been officially retained.
RFPs from 13 reputable international suppliers and traders are currently out, and we do not forecast any disruption in the supply to the traveling public.
And despite a detailed plan on the various phases of the shutdown, the minister offers this commitment.
I want to give the country the assurance that there will be a smooth transition from refinery fuels to imported fuels.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says the decision to excise the refinery from the company is part of the closure, and the decision was made by Cabinet from options put forward by the board.
We spoke of no idea of sale. We said opportunity, whatever that opportunity is, whether it is sale, lease, supply of crude by a third party, whatever, we will look at what options are available to us.
He says the offering up of assets to the Oilfield Workers Trade Union arose thereafter.
And what of the proposal the OWTU had submitted to take over the operations of Petrotrin? Well, the union took it to the opposition on Wednesday, and President General Ansel Roger says it has been embraced. More in this TV6 news report.
Mr. Roger says opposition leader Kamala Prasad-Visesa and her team endorsed the union's proposal to save the Petrotrin refinery after they perused the document, a proposal which he says will not include much government involvement.
Our proposal speaks to leasing Petrotrin for a period of time, and the lessee will have the responsibility for the operations of Petrotrin. And when that happens, the government has absolutely no liability or no debt or no no responsibility there, and therefore they can only stand to benefit in that arrangement.
He says the proposal outlines how the refinery can be optimized efficiently to become profitable through restructuring.
The government now will be saved through our proposal from going to borrow money to send workers home. So they will be saved from expenses that they do not need in a situation where they claim not to have money.
Ansel Roger reiterated that the ability to earn foreign exchange will be lost with the dismantling of the refinery, and that as it now stands, Trinidad and Tobago is the laughingstock of the Caribbean.
Those countries in the Caribbean who do not have vast deposits of oil and so on, they are not oil producers, they don't have a refinery. They are laughing at us because they are saying that we are just faced with challenges of debt payments, and we are prepared to shut down an oil industry as a result of that.
Roger says no matter how shutting down the refinery is spun to look like the only way out, it ultimately ends with Trinidad and Tobago losing.
While responding to a question from the opposition on Wednesday, Prime Minister Rowley said he was unsure whether any other Petrotrin proposals were being entertained.
I am not aware that the board is in receipt of any other proposal, but I am aware that there are other persons who might have been indicating that they would have an interest in the event that the refinery becomes available for consideration.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, the former chairman of the troubled CL Financial Group, Lawrence Dupre, has been ordered to pay over $122 million in damages to the company's former subsidiary in the Bahamas over a failed land development in Florida. Delivering a 16-page judgment in a Port of Spain court on Thursday, High Court Judge Ricky Rahim dismissed Dupre's defense to the multi-million-dollar lawsuit in which British American Insurance Company Limited, BICO, was seeking to recover the money which represents the damages awarded to it by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in the South District of Florida in July last year. Provided that Dupre does not appeal Rahim's decision, the company based in Nassau, Bahamas, could move ahead to have Dupre's local assets seized by the court and auctioned off to clear the debt. As part of the ruling, Dupre is also required to foot 55% of BICO's legal bill for bringing the claim. Jamaica's Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw on Thursday announced that the country had made its first legal export of medical marijuana extracted oil to Canada. He said it marks the first step in positioning Jamaica as the world's medical marijuana hub. Shaw said the shipment was authorized through an import permit issued by the Government of Canada through Health Canada for Jamaica and an export permit issued by the Ministry of Health in the island. The import permit was obtained on behalf of Jamaican-based licensed producer Timeless Herbal Care. Courtney Betty, President and CEO of Timeless Herbal Care, said the accomplishment of landing the first shipment of extracted oil, which was cultivated and extracted by the company's facilities in Jamaica, was a fulfillment of a mission that began 5 years ago. Meanwhile, some on the island say they believe the marijuana industry could help solve some of Jamaica's economic problems. And in this report from TVJ News, we hear stakeholders explaining some of the things they're doing to get ready for the opportunities.
In this dark room are sleeping ganja plants. They need 18 hours of sleep each day to grow perfectly. But because Jamaica offers about 12 hours of darkness, plant expert Dr. Machel Emmanuel has created nighttime for them in this room to extend their sleeping time by an additional 6 hours. We didn't want to wake them, so we used a flashlight with a green beam to blend in as we took a look. Over in the greenhouse, more ganja plants. These are kept under bright lights and heat. These need 16 hours of daylight to grow. All of this is part of an intricate study to determine consistency. Consistency is what your favorite food company uses to keep the taste you know for years.
We need to understand how does the plant flower, but how the quality assurance can also be maintained throughout the tropical climate without using excessive pesticides and growing in particular conditions. Because if you're thinking of a medical cannabis, you need to first and foremost maintain that you are providing that consumer with something that is safe.
Some of what Dr. Emmanuel has seen in his research has convinced him that local ganja farmers must be trained if they are to be part of the supply chain. For him, traditional farmers have to be able to guarantee processors and buyers that the taste, smell, and look of the ganja will be the same every time.
Traditional farmers, for example, grow from seeds. A seed is a product of sexual reproduction, meaning that your brother and your sister are not the same. But if you grow from asexual propagation, meaning clones, that can allow consistent genetics to be replicated consistently. But the approach needs to be done in a pragmatic way to really maintain quality assurance in terms of pesticide, residues, and so on.
We traveled next to the Garmix-free zone in Kingston. Here we got a tour of a facility which processes ganja. It is owned by the president of the Young Ganja Entrepreneurs Association, Maurice Ellis.
So this room, for example, is designed for germplasm. So we have already staked our claim in the aspect or the area of the cultivation we desire.
But why is Jamaica's ganja industry still not developed, despite the possibilities? That question was put to Director of the Cannabis Licensing Authority, Delano Steve Wright.
There have been below 500 applications for licenses up to this summer. I believe over a dozen licenses have been issued so far, and there are at least 120 to 150 conditional approvals that have been given. What is happening is that a number of persons who have applied for licenses and who have gotten the conditional approvals either fall out and, probably change of business plans or so on, or are not ready yet to take up the licenses.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, the acting leader of Bermuda's opposition party insists the party is united despite recent resignations. We'll be right back.
It's my first year, the first of the 3 that they've been doing. It will not be my last, but it's beautiful to celebrate everything that we contribute to the society that we live in, as well as music. Music is such a universal language. It bridges gaps. It soothes souls. It's just so many different things all wrapped into one. And when we contribute our part of it, it just becomes even that much more magical.
It's off the chain. And to see us, look at this. Demetria McKinney, House of Pain. Y'all know who this is, right?
I can sing now, I can smile now, I can laugh now, I've raised my hands now. A blanket beneath and the atmosphere that God made us so serene. This place, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Lift your name up, we give you glory. In this place.
Welcome back. The acting leader of the One Bermuda Alliance, OBA, Leah Scott, insists the party is unified, despite claims by insiders that a split in the party was widened since businessman Craig Cannonier succeeded Jean Atherden as opposition leader this week. Scott says she thinks the change is a good thing, and the 7-year-old party is united as a group and excited about Cannonier taking the leadership. She said, quote, "I think we are in a good space, despite what people think on the outside," end quote. An election for a new party leader will be held on October 12th. A new chairman to replace Justin Matthias, who quit on Tuesday, will also be elected on that day. And after continued pressure from CARICOM, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has announced the removal of honey importation restrictions on Grenada, Guyana, and possibly other countries. The non-conformity of the Twin Island Republic's legislation governing the importation of honey has been a long-standing issue. TNT had initially restricted the importation from Grenada and other Caribbean countries due to concerns about the American fall brood disease. The contagious disease in honeybees, for which there is no cure, is caused by a spore-forming bacteria which has the potential to kill entire colonies of honeybees, even infecting beekeeping equipment in the process. We get more in this GBN News report.
According to a report by CARICOM today, Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Agriculture, Clarence Rambarat, has confirmed plans to remove restrictions on the importation of honey from Grenada, Guyana, and possibly other Caribbean countries. The non-conformity of Trinidad and Tobago's legislation governing the importation of honey has been a long-standing issue raised at the 36th meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development in 2013, and more recently at the 38th meeting of the CARICOM Heads of Government in July of this year. However, officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, Kwesi Williams, in an exclusive interview with JBN, says they have had no official word from the TNT government.
From what has been told to us so far, we have no confirmation to that. What we can say, what has happened so far is that COTED has approached us to do a pre-assessment, a risk analysis. This is the document. We have completed this document and submitted back to COTED. So they, in light, have submitted back to the Trinidad government. Now, what has to happen after that is that COTED now has to come to Grenada with a team to do an investigation on our honey before we can get the final say as to whether or not Trinidad will open up the market.
Williams says that even if the announcement came from the Trinidad and Tobago government, they must first change their legislation before Grenada can resume exporting honey to the Twin Island Republic. As such, he is warning farmers to not engage in trafficking honey to Trinidad until the Ministry of Agriculture says it's safe to do so. He said in the meantime, they await the quoted team.
In all honesty, they were supposed to come sometime this month. We have gotten a response stating that the date has not confirmed as yet. So hopefully soon we should know whether or not they're going to visit us or not. I mean, the risk assessment that was done was very detailed. So I'm not too sure if the information that was done in there, if they actually need to visit us.
The Twin Island Republic had initially restricted the importation of honey from Grenada and other Caribbean countries due to concerns about being affected by the American fall brood disease.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies women confident about extending their lead in the T20 series against South Africa as they head into Friday's second match.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. If the eye of the hurricane passes over, it will be calm for a short period only.
So Carnival in the Caribbean, more to the point, the annual round of carnivals that begins in Trinidad in February and ends in Sugar City, St. Kitts in December. Well, Vinci has had theirs, St. Lucia also, Barbados just wrapped up, and Spice Mass is on the horizon. Here now are some scenes from Grenada's Juve 2017.
Yo, build the vibes, build the vibes. You see that girl over there, sir? I want to talk to her. Jab language.
Continuing with sports now, West Indies women are confident about extending their lead in the 5-match T20 series against South Africa when they play their second game on Friday at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. The women brushed aside South Africa by 17 runs on Monday in Barbados as they began their final preparation for the defense of their T20 World Cup title in November. Wicketkeeper Marissa Aguilera tells TV6 that the girls are pumped for their next encounter with the South African women.
The Windies women were giving it their all during their training session at the Brian Lara Stadium with Game 2 against South Africa on Friday, having drawn the 50-over series 1-1 and currently leading the 5-game T20 series 1-0. Wicketkeeper batter Marissa Aguilera says the ladies from the Caribbean are upbeat for the rest of the series.
The spirits are really high. I must say we are really confident going into this last 4 games. We have been training really hard as a team, and I think once you train hard, you're playing, becomes really easier. And I think right now we have been really training hard. We have been doing well as a team. The spirit is there. Everybody, we are fully together. We are one unit. I think that is something that we have been working on, and the time spent in Antigua, I think that has really improved us as a team.
The Windies made 124 for 6 in their opening T20 against South Africa before restricting the Proteas to 107 for 7, which resulted in a 17-run win for the ladies in maroon. As such, Aguilera says the Windies need to get their act together with the Willow.
I think definitely being more consistent in the batting department, because 1 minute a player will have a high score, then, they will falter in the next game. But I think it's all about being consistent. So that's an area that we have been looking at, trying to be consistent in our batting departments and even in all areas of our game as well.
The defending T20 World Cup champions are upbeat about winning the series. Having said that, Aguilera has utmost respect for the South Africans.
The South Africans, they're really determined. They have some good players. Very unfortunate that some of them are not coming up the mat. Well, it's fortunate for us, but unfortunate for them. But I guess, that's how it goes in the cricket department. But after all, they're a really good squad. They have been playing really good cricket. They did extremely well in the 50 Overs World Cup. And, coming here to the West Indies, they know that it would have been difficult for them. But I think that they are adapting to the conditions pretty quickly.
The Windies, like the other nations, are preparing for the T20 World Cup to be held in the Caribbean in November.
And the men's squad arrived safely in India for their 2-test series, which is scheduled to start on October 4th. The Jason Holder-led contingent arrived on Thursday to a warm reception at the hotel after walking out of the bus to drum rolls and traditional Indian music and dance. The teams will also play 5 one-day internationals and 3 T20 matches. The Windies will commence the series with a 2-day warm-up fixture against a board President 11 on Saturday. Before their arrival in India, the West Indies had been forced to deal with several issues, including the resignation of former head coach Stuart Law and the departure of leading fast bowler Kemar Roach. Cricket West Indies said Monday that the 49-year-old Law will leave his post at the end of the year after nearly 2 years at the helm. And Roach returned home following the death of his grandmother. He's expected to rejoin the squad after the funeral. Despite announcing his retirement from Test cricket back in 2016, Jamaican pacer Jerome Taylor is still open to representing the West Indies in all formats of the game. But the 34-year-old told the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper he would only be interested in playing one-day internationals and T20 at the highest level. Taylor was recently named in Jamaica's 14-man squad to take part in next month's regional Super 50 competition, paving the way for a possible return to the Windies. After being overlooked for the recently concluded Caribbean Premier League, Taylor, who last played for the regional team in 2016, took a contract with English team Somerset and helped them to the semi-final of the T20 Blast. Taylor has played 46 tests, taking 130 wickets with best figures of 6 for 47 against Australia in June 2015 on home soil at Sabina Park. To table tennis now, host Jamaica and the Dominican Republic picked up wins at the Caribbean Table Tennis Tournament. The details in this report.
The Dominican Republic followed up their team's success with wins in both men's and women's doubles events. The men's team triumphed over the Jamaican pair of Simon Tomlinson and Kane Watson in straight sets. The pair of Emil Santos and Samuel Galvez won 11-9, 11-6, 11-6. Earlier, the Jamaicans reached the final when they defeated Barbados by 3-2, while the Dominicans got their berth to the final when they beat the other Barbadian pair of Kevin Farley and Tyrese Knight.
It was a good final. I think we played good. I think my partner played good, and it was not easy, but I think we played really good today.
At home, playing. Got the country's first medal, so we're very happy. Made it to the finals. We didn't have the best showing, but adjustments to be made and things that we can fix for the singles.
It's good to be amongst the medals. We wanted the gold, we're on home turf, so that would have been good. But we are grateful for the silver medal and we gave it our best.
The women's doubles title also went to the Dominicans as the team of Yasaris Ortiz and Eva Breta outclassed their teammates Esmeralyn Castro and Diana Rojas 11-4, 11-13, 11-1, 11-8. Ortiz and Breta reached the final with an impressive win over the Guyanese pair of Chelsea Edgehill and Natalie Cummings. Ortiz was proud of her doubles success.
We know each other because we play against our partners, like the other couple was from Dominican Republic too. So we know each other, and it was a little bit harder in the second game, but after we get it, yeah. It feels good. We already got 2 gold medals, and we're gonna keep going because still more competitions are coming.
And that's a sport. We'll be right back.
This month on Caribbean Passport, we take a bite into Barbados at the Food and Rum Festival. We get an intimate look into this world-class event by top chefs and mixologists. And if that isn't enough spice, we visit Pure Grenada, all coming up right here on this station.
Again, the major developments of this day: Barbados spare the expected rains and high winds from Tropical Storm Kirk, which continues on a track across the Lesser Antilles. And in sport, West Indies women confident about extending their lead in the T20 series against South Africa as they head into Friday's second match. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport round the clock, log on to CanaNews.com. And for more of our programming, log on to CariVision.tv and subscribe to CariVision's YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good and safe night.